Yes, I've reduced our budget by $133,300 due to us not having an election this year. Right.
I like how you frame that as discretionary.
Do y'all have any questions? I do not have any handouts. Would you like me to get you a handout saying that I've reduced the budget $133,300? No, we do not need any extra from last year. We're reducing.
She should probably go ahead and put it in her budget to replace these chairs again in a year or two. They're already getting beat up here.
Those new chairs are the best thing ever, especially in the conference room. Economic development, good morning. So we have reduced our operating budget by $135,200. Now, on the total number of things that are within that budget, which is then within the administrator's budget, let's run through that real quick of the different items. So the reduction of operating is mainly a reduction in staff going from 4 to 2. So we have 2 staff members now, myself and Corey Furr, and we are located in the Riverwalk on the 4th floor. So let's hit some of the highlights that you do have in that budget. The Riverwalk expenses, on a wonderful thing, we went from 3 million prepayments to 2 million. So we're in the 2 million phase now. That will happen, I guess, in January. That dollar is there under developer incentive on your budget. The second thing is the cost of the 4th floor lease. So when you got that as 706, 762, and then the operating for that is 444, 600. So it's about 1.2 million for the 4th floor. So that's in that budget. Now, those numbers, did we confirm that those were based on the lease? Because there may be a small adjustment for those.
We're verifying all those numbers, yes.
Yes, okay. So those will be your fixed costs that go with the Riverwalk. You have really 3. Now, related to the Healthcare Authority, Ms. Driver and I were in a meeting this week with the Healthcare Authority, and we do have some expenses for legal that continue based on the decision to use Holland at night. So we had reduced all of the expenses out for the healthcare, but I think I need to add back 10,000 for legal, just so we have something if invoices come, because there will be those reports that, correct me, Ms. Driver, from correct, we're going to continue to use them, so there'll be some costs through that every 6 months for at least another period of time.
I would say at least for the next 6 months, we would have to have that firm do our next report. I do think eventually, at some point, it will become a more standardized thing that the city attorney's office can handle for us, but we are still in that specialized window at this moment.
So if we can add 10,000 back, I think you'll have money left over on that. I don't think it'll cost that much, but if there's any other expense of the Healthcare Authority or related to the CON itself with the state, then that way we'll have the money there to cover those costs. So those are in there for the Healthcare Authority as well as the Riverwalk project. As I mentioned, we reduced staff, so basically everything else, there's nothing new being asked for, and our computers and technology seem okay. And the majority of that budget that we are using of $167,500 for operating for the department is subscriptions to databases. Now, in that, there are some other dollars that I'll end with the big question. We're recommending that we increase the funding, the annual funding for the Shelby Chamber from 10,000 level to 20,000 a year. Sent you their packet this week, I think yesterday. And that way, that's been an ongoing program. I think the support has been there from the mayor's office as well as Mr. Munger. And so they're doing a really good job. The remaining for the Hoover Chamber is the big question that is in the budget now. It is in there at the $59,000 for the rent, And I believe that has been kind of agreed amongst yourselves, that that is an obligation, a commitment till 2028, with Jim Wilson Associates paying that discounted rent. So with that being said, that's kind of, let's leave that in there. So the question for you is, the 100,000 for the Hoover Chamber is in there for the year, but that is there because we have not made a decision as of what to do. So had to put it in. So that is the one, however you want to take that, I'll defer to Mr. Schultz. We've had a lot of discussion, and he's had a lot of discussion with you all.
Is the 100 grand above and beyond the rent, you're saying?
Yeah, the total for the Hoover Chamber is 159.
For that Elevate Hoover.
So we have the 59,000 for the rent, which goes into 2028, and then the remaining is just a support investment. Same with the Shelby Chamber. So let me separate the two. We're asking to increase Shelby from 10 to 20 for the year, and that will put us at one of the top levels of sponsorship in their campaign for a 5-year campaign. And over here, there's not a campaign. It dissolved, and it is now an investment that you have that is in question as to what level and how you want to fund anything above and beyond the rent.
Let's rewind back just a little bit, Mr. Grimes. The $100,000, where did that number come from?
Originally, in the Elevate Hoover, it was a request for $300,000 a year. And that was in 23, 24. I guess it was in 23. I arrived in September of 23, and it was presented that same night with the budget. So it was reduced over discussion, and the council approved 100,000 with expectations to be met. Not very clear, but expectations. And so that's where that number has set.
Did the chamber understand that to be an ongoing contribution, in your opinion?
In my opinion,
Yes.
I think the board makeup has changed slightly over the last several years, as well as the president, executive director, president role, your chief administrative officer. So I think that would be hard to say it was clearly understood what was to be delivered. I don't know that I could point to things because Elevate Hoover had things that were being expected, but the funding wasn't at the level that it could do all those things by hiring new staff.
The impression I have is that they expect that $100,000 from the city.
Yeah, and it
That-
goes into operation. It's definitely part of the operation, as you and I have seen in the board meetings, and we look at the financials. It's part of their operating. So there would definitely be a reduction of some way, either in programming, as you all were talking, but I don't think there's a lot of reduction in programming that has a lot of cost, so it would probably defer to staff. It would be the size of the staff without that. But there's nothing that obligates the city to that outside of an annual investment.
To the best of your knowledge, is there any other cities that contribute that amount to their chambers?
In my experience, I've never seen this level of investment for a chamber of this size.
Okay.
And as we saw last night, it was something in the 600 paying members, I believe. When I arrived in 23, they thought they had about 1,000 members, but obviously about 300 were not paid. So they've reduced that over the last several years.
Okay, thank you.
Is Elevate Hoover still in operation, or they have abandoned that?
No, it never really got off the ground. Through the change in president and the change in some board positions, and then the funding level not being at 300,000, they also never raised the corporate funding after that.
So the 100,000 additional that would have gone to Elevate Hoover that's in the budget or being considered, since Elevate Hoover is no longer there, conceivably that's not where it's going. I mean,
Correct. It's going clearly to operate the
So
chambers.
right now, I
day-to-day.
would say the baseline is our rent obligation, and anything above and beyond that, has there been a ask from the chamber above and beyond that? Other than perceived,
It's an expectation.
Expectation.
They expect 100,000.
but that was for Elevate Hoover. Elevate Hoover's no longer
No, they
there.
wanted
They are-
300,000 for Elevate Hoover.
Yeah,
And
they
it
are
was-
under the impression that they are getting 100 grand every year.
Let me go back to, and during that time, and you may recall, the chamber was asking the city for a major $300,000 a year investment, but they also were saying that they could bring in corporate investment to match it, to balance. This did not happen. So the city reduced to $100,000 after much debate. And then it was clear that it was going to be on a year-to-year basis. So that's what I recall. And it's not very defined as to what that was to do when Elevate Hoover did not mature.
The 300,000 was just supposed to be for a discrete period of time. It was not a forever.
I think it was a
ask.
5-year commitment.
That's correct.
That's correct, yes. And just to piggyback on that, past 3 years, council has given, if you include the Elevate Hoover plus the rent, the city has given over $677,000 to the chamber in 3 years. That's a lot of money. And I think they're still in the negative. The past 2 years, negative 150, negative 148. This past year, negative 8. That's an improvement,
They were
They
up,
were in the red.
yeah.
Fred. And so,
No, they were in the black. They were in the black.
so everything now, anything above the $59,000, this deal, I guess, the city of Hoover made many years ago, anything above that is just extra, correct? The only commitment we really have is $59,000 a year in rent.
Yeah, I do not recall the city's commitment of the 100,000 specifying hire a staff person to do this, do this, do this. I mean, I don't think there were specific baseline metrics or anything that were identified because there was so much debate of Elevate Hoover not carrying on. And then people left, if you remember, and I'm thinking of, I can't remember the specific name, but you went from the president's transition and then they had the interim who was the fundraiser. So with all of that timing. Now, fast forward to today, will it have an impact on how they function and what you saw in the presentation last night? In my opinion, no doubt, it will have an effect on that. But it is not an obligation of public funds that you are committed to have to sustain any organization, any nonprofit, any support group. Now, the reason the recommendation on the other is I think the other campaign with the Shelby Chamber has proven they have a plan of work. They have a line that you see in that document of things that they have not only accomplished, but they're continuing to accomplish. So that's what we would desire to see of the Hoover Chamber, I think, is some plan of work that you are comfortable, that's meeting obligations, et cetera, and continuing to carry on with consistency. So last night was a good presentation of things, and I think from the standpoint of public money is the question of what do they need? And what do you feel that the city should support at what level?
I think the key word there is commitment, and what commitment we plan on continuing, if any. So it's something to discuss.
Yeah, I think anything above our rent obligation needs a plan of action. Like, I don't understand where the money's going to above and beyond rent obligation. And, you know, in my mind, I have not committed to $100,000 a year, just without any kind of ask, so.
To address that, the money's going, when I spoke at the board meeting last week, when it was discussed that the city may not continue their $100,000 commitment, they interpreted that as staff cutting for them. So the way that it's, to address your question, it's going towards payroll.
To Mr. Grimes' comment, you know, it is not beholden of the city to continue to fund any nonprofit in perpetuity. At some point, they have to, you know, operate on their own. Now, it behooves the city to have a strong chamber. You know, I would argue that right now we're not there. Hopefully, we can get there with strong board members and strong leadership. And I'm not saying that's not in place, but you know, like I said, anything above and beyond rent is questionable.
I think that's where we are with this, and because last night's presentation is so fresh, there's no doubt every community needs a strong, active business organization. In this case, you are going through a transitional period, and you have been for about 5 years. So I would say that where you are today, whatever decision that is of the level, should come with clear baseline metrics of this is what we want you to accomplish. Don't do everything, do these 2 or 3 things well. And whatever that level is to fund that. If that is 0 outside of the rent, then that is part of where we're at in that transition that continues on for a couple more years to figure out how they survive. Because the board knows that. The board knows through membership should be your primary source of funding. And that's where they are with 670 members, I believe.
Mr. Grimes, do you know how many members the Shelby Association has?
They're close to 1,000 paying members. I'm gonna say that paying members because 3 years ago, they said there was 1,000, but they weren't all paying. There were several that were, you should be eliminated after so many months of not paying.
If I recall correctly, when we made the $100,000 designation in the last budget cycle, what we asked for was evidence of corporate sponsorships to match that. I don't remember seeing evidence of that in the presentation last night or in the financials we were provided. And so, to me, first of all, I do agree that a strong chamber is important. But to me, our level of participation as a partner in the chamber needs to be matched by others. And that's really the pathway to independence of the chamber in the future. So if we were going to entertain an amount above the $59,000 in rent, I think it needs to come with clear expectations of matches from the community, not just membership, but sponsorship, which is what we're really being asked to do here.
I had one question. Dr. Lopez, I think you gave me this answer before. How many businesses have a license to do business in Hoover?
3,600.
Well, it's interesting because when you asked me before, and I looked at our software, we'd never been keeping up with that information, what I would say would be accurately into the standard I would want. So we are in the process, we've been going through a lot of records, clearing out things that are not actually active businesses. So I don't have that project finished yet, but we have staff working on that.
Thank you.
Ken, you had responded right then, 3,600, and I think that was a reflection on an exercise that we did early this year to look at our active business licenses with physical nexus in the city, which is something we did provide just contact information to the chamber to aid them in some of their outreach. So I think that's our best guesstimate right now, subject to change after some of those data updates.
So we ready to move on? Next would be the city administrator and HR.
Mr. Chairman, I intend to restore your schedule with a brief presentation on what I would classify as being a very straightforward austerity style budget presentation. So I will first tackle the two parts of the spreadsheet that you have, which is the line items that fall under my direct purview, which would be the ones labeled city administrator at the top. Again, those are all level funded, only requested. On tourism at the bottom, you will see, and you've got a multi-year look at the actuals, just to give you a long-term view. There is an increase in the tourism numbers down here, primarily because of a consolidation of marketing expenses from $200,000, which was moved from the mayor's budget into my budget. Mr. Shore, who I think is in the back and may want to speak at length on some of this, that is just kind of getting like items together where they are, basically where they are administered and reflecting where that work is occurring, which is in collaboration with our internal staff. You also have the management services within that consulting number, $60,000, which is the professional services contract with Ms. Lynch for at the same rate as her current, and then $5,000 in there for the ancillary reimbursable items, such as travel that may be due to her under that contract. The one item that was brought to my attention that was omitted, which was a tourism request, was an additional $10,000 to fund some type of tourism event that was supposed to be held, like a symposium at the Randall House. So I think that final request may come in at 423 here. Obviously, that is discretionary to the council whether or not to grant that approval. But generally, you've got one large reapportionment of funds from the mayor's budget here, everything else near level other than the items I mentioned.
Yeah, as liaison to tourism, the $10,000 request, I know that, I talked to Ms. Lynch about this. We're hosting a symposium in January. All tourism directors, Alabama, are coming in here, and that request for $10,000 is correct. I forget how many, Ms. Lynch? 200? Okay, thank you. 200 tourism experts from all around coming here to Hoover. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. So the human resources budget, again, very straightforward. You've got the actuals from 24 forward all the way up to the 27 request. Ms. Lopez brought to my attention one item, and Ms. Minot is in training today, which is why she is not speaking to these. But she did enter these. It is essentially a level budget. We do need to account, however, for the cost of fire department physicals, which is something that we were paying for separately through the clinic, the health clinic, which is no longer in operation. And again, that was not within their base fee for services. That was already an ancillary item. However, it would basically appear in a different location now. So you will see $40,500 be added to this here to account for that cost. That's a maximum. That's based on our historic experience of how many of those that we're needing to complete for onboarding and also existing staff. The one notable item here, and it's an item that was alluded to in the budget presentation from the library, but I also think really a common theme that as throughout last year's budget and previous budgets is that it has been a number of years since the city has had a formal update of its classification study. There's a long list that you will see this year of requests for new positions and upgrades. And there are concerns, especially on the front end of our scale, that I think may have validity from a number of departments about our ability to successfully recruit and remain a employer of choice. So the last 5 years have been an incredibly competitive hiring market, private and public sector. And so we have asked for funding to update our classification study. That would include reviewing our existing and desired levels of staffing, functional analysis of the positions, and basically comping others around us to make sure that we remain competitive. And that amount is in at around $150,000. That I would consider that kind of a ceiling amount for it. You know, we have gotten some proposals, but we've got to tighten those up if funding is allocated to bring that to council. But as you know, every year, staffing is our largest cost driver, as it is with every city. But we need to be well aware of and confident in our pay scale. Otherwise, it's being changed on an ad hoc basis each year as different departments see the need. And frankly, I think it's in the council's interest to have a holistic view of all of the positions that we have, where we need to get with those positions, and also the positions that we desire to have, our desired level of staffing, because I think we all know there are a number of areas that we are not providing service to the degree that we would like if staffing numbers could be supported by the monies that we have to allocate, which are obviously finite. But I think this would be money well spent and help the council make informed decisions on that going forward. But other than that, I'll be happy to attempt to answer any questions that you have.
Mr. Chair, I do have a question on the HR spreadsheet. The top line item is looks like a vaccinations lab. That was not eliminated as part of the elimination of the clinic, or what is that $101,000 for?
So I would have to get you that answer. I don't have that line item specificity here, but I'd be happy to get you a detailed answer on that.
Okay. And I would also be curious, when you're looking at that, why we're expecting to spend more than last year's budget when it looks like our 2026 actuals year-to-date on that line item are 75,000. And it could be that some of the things below that are blank got rolled up into that.
And so what Ms. Lopez is saying, I think that does have to do with some of our DOT and pre-employment screens. So that's kind of driven by our level of turnover and onboarding, but I will verify that.
Okay. The way that it's coded, it looks like it's related to vaccines, but maybe that's something that's not right.
Yeah, I'll verify.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Munger? I had brought up, not last night at the previous council meeting, or maybe work session, about spousal insurance coverage. Knowing that this might not be the right time to talk about it, but it might be the right time to find out what the numbers are. What would it take to find out what it would do to our premiums, even though knowing we might lose our grandfather position?
So I think that is something that, obviously we would have to approach our insurer on it, and we'd also have to change our internal policies, which were the primary driver of the spousal carve-out. The spousal carve-out was a impactful cost control measure when it was implemented. So I think just based on what was picked up in the original carve-out, I think you would be looking at a multiple six-figure move.
But
on that.
for many decades, the city allowed for spousal coverage, whether they had coverage through another employer, whether it be weaker or better. I just know that I hear a lot from employees that spouse has poor insurance coverage, and that employee is either having to stop working to be able to get the insurance, or they're having to go to part-time to where they're no longer offered that insurance, but they're also losing half their salary. Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to ask, I want to clarify that I understand what you're asking about. So I assume you're talking about medical insurance. Are you saying the city doesn't offer the opportunity for the employee to pay for their spouse to have medical coverage? Or are you saying that the city used to pay for that coverage 100%?
City used to pay as part of the family plan.
I see. I guess I would just ask if we're going to take a look at that, I think should compare to market and see what is standard and expected in the municipal sector.
Right, it's my understanding that a lot of the municipalities around us still offer that spousal coverage. And if you're going to do a salary study, perhaps you need to include a benefit study as well.
I would welcome it. Obviously, I think, as is often the case with recruiting, people that are young in their careers don't properly consider the value of fringe benefits. But I think back to actually an exit interview form that I read one of my first weeks here, and it was someone that was well apprised of our benefit package and one of the comments they left is that the city has platinum level benefits relative to others in the public sector. And of course, you know, it's always incumbent upon us to relay that information to our employees and make sure they understand that these things they're all cost. They're not costs that appear in their bank account, but they are costs to us. And so similarly with the health care clinic, huge benefit for the employees, which I appreciate. Convenience, certainly. But the hard dollars, I mean, it was a zero cost to our employees, which is wonderful. It was actually a higher cost to the city than it would have been going through our standard plan through Blue Cross Blue Shield. But to the end user, they only see the zero. They don't see that seven-figure front-end expense and the lack of reclamation between A and B. So a lot of moving parts. At the end of the day, that's a policy decision. Happy to research it. These are all numbers in a spreadsheet that have to balance to align with the council's goals.
That would be good to know, and I think, like I said, if you're gonna be doing a salary study, it probably would be much more to include a benefit study in that same project.
I think that would be reasonable. I'd have to check to see if the scope includes that or if it would require modification.
Okay, very good.
Mr.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just one thing,
Yes,
while
sir.
they're doing that, can we get the numbers on, I guess, when did we stop that, just so I'll know that, and then what was the variance of cost that we were spending with the spousal? Because I'm assuming you're referring to if a company, if your company has insurance, that has to be your primary, and then the city or your spouse will be your secondary. Hoover will be secondary, but it cannot be your primary from a spousal standpoint. Is that accurate?
Well, this would
If you-
be,
Currently, right now?
well, they wouldn't allow a secondary or primary, if I understand it right,
Wow.
is that if the spouse has another opportunity at insurance, then Hoover's not gonna cover them at all.
Not even a secondary.
Correct.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you
it's a
look,
qualifying plan,
Right,
which all plans are now required to be
Yeah.
with the ACA.
so we can just, it might be good to get a benefit comparison on the different options, even if if you have insurance primary with no support from Hoover or primary secondary, and just see how that maths as well too, since we're looking at it.
And so I think what I'd like to prepare for council is sort of kind of a white paper on the spousal carve-out, maybe timelines, initial savings realized, options for reinstalling that. I mean, some of it obviously is dynamic, the same way when we're modeling for single versus family coverage, but I think we can put some responsible estimates together.
Thank you. Anything else on admin or HR? Okay, then we will move on to operations.
Good morning. All right, so you should have some paperwork or a summary coming your way shortly as it's making its way down the bench. Operations, we're not asking for a lot on this one. We're making 4 requests, and I appreciate Mr. Munger kind of paving the way for me a little bit on the personnel piece, because 3 of my 4 requests are personnel related. So the first request that we have, and this is all listed in priority, would be the lake house renovation additional funds. As we all know, we opened bids last week on the project, and they are higher than the budget that we currently have in our accounts. So we would request these additional funds for if we move forward with this project. Now, we do have 60 days before we need to decide on whether we are going to move forward or if we are going to reject bids. So that would come to you, based off of our math on that, that would come to you on the first meeting in October. So somewhere around the 12th would be kind of the piece in that. And that would fit within the 60-day window. So we would know at that point whether, assuming a budget gets passed for October 1, whether these funds are allowed or whether we need to come up with a different plan. So we would work in conjunction on that. So
Mr. Chair, I do have a follow-up on this item.
Yes, ma'am.
So just for clarity, there's 500,000 that's already designated, already in the budget for this. So you're asking for another 500,000 plus the 30,000 grant that we received at the meeting last night, right? So a total of $1,030,000 for the Lake House project.
that's yes, that is an optimistic and a conservative approach on this one. So I would anticipate money being turned back in after that project is done, but I would much rather have the money on the front end than have to come back and ask for more as we're in the project.
Thanks.
Sir, do you
One
still
of the things
expect
about
the
the contingency.
bid to come in at 811,000?
I'm sorry?
Do you still expect the work to come in near 811?
There are 3 alternates that were bid into it. So the low bid, I don't know, Brian, did you want to talk about any of this?
Not particularly.
Okay. Understood.
I mean, we don't have a formal bid tab at this point, so again,
Right.
I mean, we want to make sure they're all valid bids. I do think, as I said last night, 5 of the 8 received were within 7% of the apparent low. But there are some ancillary items in there that Mr. Miller is speaking to that, are contingency related. Some of that's related to fiber optic extension and security cameras. But the base bid came in under 800,000. But, there are other items that, are probably considered necessary or advisable that are, that or may be considered discretionary. So the bids will need to be presented to council regardless of the path chosen.
Did that answer your question, Mr. Smith? All right, so that is our first priority. Second priority would be a position upgrade, and that is from our city planner to a director of planning and zoning. So to make them a director position, it's a one grade increase. The position balances the development, infrastructure, and environmental concerns while also meeting the needs of current and future residents. Kind of feel like this person is operating as a department head anyway. You see him most council meetings with presentation of nuisances or other items. So that's part of our succession plan, I believe, and part of a good opportunity for that position to be upgraded to a department head level. Do you have any questions on this one in particular before I go to the next one?
First, does anybody else? How many people work under this individual if he's going to become a director?
Sure. He has 2 code inspectors. He's got the landscape architect. He has some administrative support. He also has 2 GIS people in his under his supervision right now as well.
So all these answer directly to him?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that's currently.
How long has it been since this position has had a step increase?
This would be a grade increase, not just a step increase. So it's
Okay.
a little bit different terminology. That's an excellent question. I don't know the answer to that one. I don't know that we have had a director of planning and zoning previously, so this would be the first time for this one to become a director. There are 2, I'll call them groups, that fall under operations that are not department heads. This one being one, planning and zoning being one, the other one being building services, and that comes in with my number 4 request. But we'll get there in a minute.
Thank you.
All right. Third request, third priority would be a position upgrade for our administrative services specialist to an operations program manager. This would be a 2 grade increase. The position provides operational and administrative support to both me and to the facilities manager within the building services group by overseeing purchasing functions, coordinating facility-related programs, managing projects that support the maintenance, operation, and improvement of all municipal facilities. Role serves as a key liaison among departments, vendors, contractors to ensure effective service delivery and compliance with organizational policies and procedures. Role also provides additional support to other operations departments as needed. This is a real utility player for us, so not just an administrative person. So this person takes on all the administrative roles, but also almost acts as a trainer for other departments to kind of bring them up to speed on how we're doing things, what the expectation is. So that would be the request on that one. And then my fourth request would be for this is a new position within building services, to make that a facilities manager position. I'm sorry, a director of facilities position. So the director would then have a facility manager and would have all of custodians reporting directly to that person. And then the facility manager position would not change besides the custodial piece. That would plug out. But again, this person is almost acting in this role as well. Not as present in front of this body, but very active in amongst the city and keeping our facilities maintained and operating properly.
Who's doing this work now?
Who?
Yes.
Colin Connor. He is our facilities manager.
And your position is one step above that of a director?
The manager is a grade 12. This one would be a grade 15. The
Right.
new position would be a grade 15. So as far as organizationally, yes, it would be one step above what Colin is doing right
Your
now.
title is
My title,
COO,
yes, sir.
and how many grades or steps above a director's position is that?
It'd be 3
3? Okay.
grades.
And how many people would be working under this new position?
This new position, like I said, it would have the facility manager under him. It would also have the 2 custodian supervisors under him, and both of those have treed out support. I've got an organizational chart that I can supply to you if you would like it, if that would be helpful. I'll be more than happy to
I've
present
been
that to you.
asking for an organizational chart from the city since last November. So these positions currently exist then? They're not going to be added?
Everything under this new director for facilities, all of those positions already exist. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I would also just ask that we get a comparison, not just of these positions with org charts, but all the org charts, because I'd like to see a comparison for department heads, director levels across departments, and both the breadth and depth of scope of responsibility. You know, it strikes me as maybe not appropriate to upgrade a position just because the volume of work has increased, if we're not increasing the number of people that are being supervised or the breadth of responsibility. So I'd really like to see a holistic comparison across the board.
Sure, I can provide that for you, for the operations side. That's all I have.
Any other questions from the body? If not, then we will move to tourism.
Thank you.
Morning.
Hello.
Mr. Smith, the tourism item was handed out jointly with the items I discussed earlier, and I do think we talked through the minor changes that there were, including the cost for the symposium and the movement of consulting fees from the mayor's budget to my own budget. But certainly, we are happy to answer additional questions, or just maybe Jamie can tell us some interesting stats about some of their success this last year, if you'd like to hear about it. All right. Great job, Jamie.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
Best one yet. Very, very efficient.
There was a time, Mr. Munger, that the city put together a video that was played on a channel at all the city hotels. That was, and I can't remember the young lady's name that was serving on the council with us at the time. She was an attorney, and she was the one that came up with it. But it's really an advertising for the city on a channel in each hotel. Of course, the city has grown in the number of hotels since then. Would that be advantageous for people that come and stay in the city to have something like this to run across?
It's an interesting question. You know, it's, I guess, depending on the method of distribution, I know most hotels engage with a brand-specific television partner. You know, I'm not sure exactly what it takes to get those into their queue, but we have a relationship with our hotel group. We can look into it, and as you know, we do have solid video production capacity now. But, you know, as far as the efficacy of it, basically advertising to people once they are already here, it would just be speculation on my part.
Well, if it was a blank channel to begin with, I don't believe that they charged the city anything. The cost of the whole program was the video itself. I guess we could talk to Paul Dangle, and see. He would probably remember.
Like I said, I know we have some ongoing dialogue with the hotel operators, so perhaps we can, you know, just ask that group and figure out if it's possible for everyone, and then if it is, possibly bring it back to council.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'll jump in and say, I know that Ms. Lynch and I have had those conversations with the hoteliers, and they definitely want to have some kind of promo. I know the previous administration had requested that $2 bed fee that they assured them, the Brigade administration, that they were going to reciprocate back and help promote hotels. Unfortunately, that never did happen. And one of the things I know that Ms. Lynch and I have been trying to help find in the budget, you know, it's not that expensive to have some social media ads because it doesn't make an impact, but to just promote the hotels, promote what we have. You know, we have some jewels that we just don't promote. And I think if we just did a little bit of advertising, we could kind of turn that around.
Maybe we'll get the chamber to look into it.
It might get the chamber to help. But, you know, look into the restaurants that are around the city that people that are coming in from out of town could see in such a video presentation. So.
I would like to speak to one thing, and Councilman McClinton knows what I'm about to say. I've related to him previously, and I'm speaking solely about what is in the written record of the city and also in the reporting record relative to the $2 bed fee. I'm not speaking to any deals, handshakes, whatever they may have been promises that were made, but there is no reflection in the ordinance or in the minutes or in newspaper articles and contemporaneous reports to reflect that that is earmarked in any way. But how the council chooses to apportion it is obviously at your discretion.
Jamie, what do you think it would cost to put together a video like that?
From a production standpoint, I'd have to look in the team, but, I mean, you have to shoot it, you have to edit it. I mean, I can't give you, I'll give you a top of head, but don't quote me on it.
Okay,
Say $5,000.
okay. Well, I know you know who's been doing a lot of work for the city here recently, and you could probably communicate with them and see what the charge would be.
Yeah, and that would be a nice minimum, like a minimum thing to do.
Okay,
That fits on scope.
thank you. On to risk.
Yes.
We're doing things risky.
I had already prepared these before I got Melinda's 1 to 2 pages, so I apologize.
That's all right.
Going for extra credit.
I'd rather see the whole thing, just 1 to 2 pages.
So yes, thank you. We're here today to present our summary for our budget request. In your handout, I do have a spreadsheet, an item, account by account for each of the funds that we have. In risk, we have 3 funds. We have our operating budget, and then we have internal service fund for workers' comp and one for property and casualty. For this year, I am requesting overall 2% increase in budget. I have made efforts to control expenses and prioritize resources. However, my goal truly is to not have any mid-year budget requests. So my numbers do represent anticipated cost increases with the facts that are known today. So the first request that I have, and the largest request, is an additional $75,000 for an increase in insurance premium cost. I know in July, when we renewed our cyber liability, there were a lot of questions about our cyber liability insurance coverage. And on page 7 in your handout, you will see some indications from our insurance broker for options. So once the budget has been approved, I will work with our broker to firm those numbers up, and I'll come back to this body and present you with options if we would like to change that policy.
Quick question, Mr. Chair. Is this our new broker or the broker that spoke to us at the meeting?
If the council does pass a resolution to change our broker, that would be effective 10/1. So it would be the new broker that would be doing that. So these numbers may change, obviously. But I had already asked for this with our current broker, and I wanted to present that to you just to give you some indications of what we're looking at. Let's see. Number 2, I'm requesting $7,500 this year to purchase building appraisals and appraisals for our city-owned fine arts. These appraisals are necessary to ensure that our building values are accurately reflected and we are properly protecting the city's assets. Our current property insurer offers a discounted rate of $250 per building, and we have 26 buildings, so that equates to $6,500. We try to have our buildings appraised every 5 years, and so that's up again. In this current year, I was able to have our 6 largest buildings appraised. So in the next budget, I would like to appraise our smaller buildings that are worth less than $5 million. Also, I'm seeking $1,000 to hire an expert appraiser for our fine arts. I have already started developing an inventory of our fine arts across the city with Aldridge Gardens and the library and some other places. And so once I have that comprised fully, I would like to have someone come in and give us an overall picture of what our fine arts, city-owned fine arts, the values of each of those. We do have some coverage in our existing property policy, but I've been approached to to move towards this, so I wanted to give that as an option to the council. And finally, I'm requesting an additional $1,500 for registration and travel expenses. We do have a new employee in our department. Thank you, City Council. And so fortunately, he could not be here today. He also is in training. But when I took a look at our current registration and travel expenses, we're a little short with projected increases for next year. And finally, beginning on page 9 of your handout, you will find position upgrades for 3 of the employees in risk management. These employees collectively manage the day-to-day operations and responsibilities with our self-insured, self-administered insurance program. The scope of these responsibilities have grown beyond what is accurately reflected by the current classifications, and I do request that the body take a look at those for us. I know that has been discussed briefly here. But I'm happy to answer any questions you have, and I also would encourage you to stop by risk management. Please, if you have questions that have a lot of details, I'm happy to show you. We have some information. I can run some reports for you, but please stop by anytime, and we're happy to meet with you.
And we also have a standing biweekly risk meeting on Friday mornings every other week. If anybody ever wants to sit in, we kind of recapture and review all ongoing claims, litigation, things like that. And
Sounds delightful.
it is, it's, I would say, more interesting than you might expect.
I do have a request, not for today, but I would love to get an update, maybe at a council meeting, for us to hear about the development of safety programs and how you're utilizing that new position that we added last year.
Okay, absolutely. I can just briefly tell you that we have hired our new health and safety coordinator. His name is Adam Durden, and the first item and goal that I gave him was to come in and audit our claims history, so we can know where we should focus our attention, and he has done that. He also is in the process of developing the first ever employee city driver training program, and that's going to be focused primarily on the departments that don't have a training division. And so what we envision is that new employees that come on board go through the driver training, and he has been certified by the National Safety Council as a trainer. And they would go through a program, and just a general entry-level driving program, and also talk about our policies, what our policies are here, what your responsibilities are as a city driver. And then once they've completed that training, then they would be issued their city driver's permit. We don't currently do that. And so I'll be glad to send you more information. We have lots of things in the works. He is becoming a certified playground inspector, as well as currently he's doing playground inspections, but we are expanding those inspections, and I'm happy to send you some information about that.
How many people are in your department?
4.
Wow.
And currently I have one position vacant. In March, we lost our employee to another department, and so we did post that position. It's an administrative role, and that position has changed in so much that they handle a lot of the workers' compensation activities, and I really depended on that person to do that. We did interview. Unfortunately, we did not get candidates that we felt were qualified for our needs, and that is one of the reasons why I have a position upgrade for that vacant position. I would like to have someone truly that has experience with workers' comp, an adjuster level position.
Could I follow up on Ms. Driver's question on the change in the broker?
Yes, sir.
On July 27th, we passed 889126, which allowed us to look for a new broker. Are we looking for a new broker? Because the answer you gave was kind of up in the air. Where are we with that?
Well, in my understanding with that resolution, that granted the mayor the ability to put our current broker on notice. There's a 60-day notice. We have met with the administration's pick for a replacement broker, and currently we are working with them, and we will bring that back before the council for you to be approved as the new broker beginning October 1st.
Are you aware of the letter we received, a strongly worded letter from the previous broker?
We did have a discussion, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
It was more than just us that received the letter.
I'm aware of that, yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Murphy says he has no questions.
What's for lunch?
What's for lunch? I
Thank
guess
you very
what-
much.
It's whatever we find. All right, we're gonna break for lunch. We had down here from 11:50 to 1 o'clock. We could probably still get back at 1 o'clock and get back on track.
Yes, lunch is in the community room. It's ragtime, and we can certainly start at 1 o'clock because I know Mrs. Caldwell is already here, so we can start whenever you're done eating.
Very good. Thank you.